Hi, I'm Hugh Whitmore. I'm an author, and today I'm talking about one of my nonfiction titles, The Christian Leadership Experience. In the book, I touch on a lot of different topics, and one of them is wealth building. But I wanted to go into a little bit more detail today because it's such a popular topic and on so many people's minds. To start with, contrary to popular belief, the Bible is not against wealth building. It's very supportive of it, in fact. As a matter of fact, my favorite saying in the Old Testament comes from Proverbs 13:11. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. And in the New Testament, Jesus doesn't say you can't get to heaven if you're wealthy. He says it'll be harder for a rich man to get to heaven, but that's because a rich man tends to be tainted by the world around him, and we're told to be withdrawn from the world, to be more attuned to the teachings of God than being prideful about the wealth we have. And that's where we're going today in this presentation, which is in two parts. The first is going to be about the social aspects, the social contracts of the habits of wealth building, and part two will be about the technical parts that you come to your mind more, which about like stocks and bonds and business and that kind of thing. So to start with, the social contract, the social elements that go into making up wealth building are in three areas. One is marriage and family, two is health, and three is, of course, your job or your business or however you make your living. So let's start with marriage. Marriage is so highly correlated to successful wealth building that it's almost a lock. And it is on the minds, I believe, of most Christian people that they're going to get married. So I don't think I'm talking about something people aren't interested in. It is God's way of man and woman getting together for life and having children. And so it doesn't happen for all Christian people. Some people don't end up married, but I think most people do. So if you can get married, if you're in a position to do that, you should do so. And here's the key. You need to stay married. Get married and stay married. And a good long marriage is very conducive to wealth building. And the way to get this done is to plan for your marriage, and even if you haven't, if you're already married, is to talk about the things of wealth building and add it to your marriage as a goal. It's a very fun and enjoyable thing because wealth building is like a dream. It's like having a dream where you're looking way out into the future at something that's going to happen and then making that dream happen together. It's quite a great addition to a marriage. And so marriage is an endeavor of love and family, but it's also a very practical matter. And so if you're thinking of getting married, and this sounds like something you'd want to discuss, turn it around and make it fun. If you were going to get a roommate, you would talk about things. So who's going to pay for what? And who's going to live in what room? And who's going to have what half of the fridge? You would talk about practical matters. Well, talk about the practical matters of your marriage and enjoy them. And wealth building is a practical matter that becomes a greater overarching goal in your marriage. So that's a lot of the little things that bother people. Again, you're going to have a roommate. This will be a roommate for like 30, 40, 50 years, right? So a lot of little things about how the toothpaste tube gets pushed, will fade if you're agreeing on the big things. And so talk about the practical things and wealth building being one of them. And again, we'll get into the details later, but include it in your marriage, have a good marriage, a long-lasting marriage, because the opposite, if you end up getting divorced, that's a great destroyer of wealth. And it's also a destroyer of wealth if both people are not on the same page in a marriage about wealth building. If one's spending money and one's trying to save, that is a great area of friction. It isn't going to be conducive to wealth building, but that's also, unfortunately, one of the predictors of divorce is if you're far apart on money, that's one of the big ones. Okay, so get married and stay married. All right, the second one is marriage and family. So when the kids come along, or if you have children now, you want to involve them in the same excitement about wealth building that you express with your spouse. And that is, give them chores immediately. As soon as they can understand what a chore is, 2 years old or whatever, pick up your toys and then reward them for it. In the beginning, you maybe reward them with a hug, or let's sit down together for dinner or whatever, or let's go play now. You did a great job there. But as soon as they're cognizant of earning stuff, then give them rewards, get them an allowance, but don't just give them $1 a week or $5 a week or whatever we're talking about. Give them money, if it's money, that's in relation to what they're doing. Or when they're very young, maybe do the fun thing of filling up a piggy bank. So involve your kids in the knowledge of essentially turning a buck. I look around my neighborhood. One of the things I love about the place I live is there's hundreds of kids around here. I just love watching them grow up. And you see different types of kids, and obviously they're from different types of families. And some of these kids are constantly knocking on my door, asking me to give them a job. And some of them are getting old enough now where they're shoveling snow, and you see a lot of lemonade stands or kids doing work in the backyard, or all the neighborhoods around here have a lot of stones in the front yard, and they fall in the street, and the kids will pick them up for you for a few bucks. It's great. And they're making $1. And that is a wonderful thing in life, and to involve your whole family in this thing, because sometimes too, families have to go without things in the short term to earn money over the long term. And so explaining this to your kids is a great way to let them in on the wealth building principles. So now we have marriage and family, and now we have to move to health. And health used to be a very easy thing to discuss, but it isn't anymore. It's very complex because the world has changed. And so health has come down to avoiding a lot of things. Not just in the old days, you say, well, don't smoke, and don't drink to excess, and don't take drugs, and try to keep the weight down, exercise. You say the basic things, but now you have a lot of toxins to avoid in life. And so you have to focus on health and make that a primary thing in your family. One is fitness, staying fit, and revolving your family around that, revolving the spouses around that. That's a good time spent together. It's a good goals to keep together. Staying fit, because gaining weight is very bad for health, and can be bad for a marriage. And also it's bad for your children. So involve your children and your family in health and enjoy it all together. And put your family in a position also of knowledge to avoid toxins. And toxins, unfortunately, are so rife in our lives nowadays. So try to eat organic foods if you can afford them. Don't drink tap water. Avoid the big ones, alcohol, it just isn't good for you. Coffee, really not good for you. Caffeine, these things are just not good for the health and accumulate in the tissues over time. Avoid staying up too late. You should try to get to bed early and get up early. You should try to get at least 7 hours. 8 hours is better of sleep. Involve yourself in the processes of health. Avoid the toxins. Stay healthy. Monitor one another's health. Notice when your spouse is getting overstressed. Take a little time off from work or out of your day to relax, and these things will help your health, and that's the second pillar, second base of wealth building, the social parts of wealth building. The third, of course, is work. Now, work should be something that you think of as your main wealth building principle, and you should act accordingly. So if you own a business, you should be always looking for ways to increase the efficiencies of that business and move up in that business. Make it a bigger, better, more profitable business with better profit margins. If you're in a profession, a job, you should constantly be looking for ways to make yourself an expert, a go-to guy or a go-to gal in that line of work. And here's another key. Always make your ambitions known. Within your workplace, I want that job. I want that promotion. I want to be valuable here. tell me where I could go here, and size that up in your company. If you work for somebody, where can I go here? Can I get a bonus? Can I get more salary? And if not, continue to make yourself valuable to that company, but constantly look for that next position after you've given your employer a good pull for their money. You don't want to just job hop. You want to give them responsibly your time for a good period of time, at least a year or two, to give them a good pull for their money before you move on to the next thing. But have your mind open to that. If your current employer isn't going to give you the respect of your full efforts and your expertise, then find somebody else who will. Another good key for work is to, if you can all do this, makes a huge difference in your life, in your stress, and in your ability to gather wealth, and that is to live close to your work. And I don't recommend living in a city. I don't think it's good for people. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's good for children. I think you should live in a suburb where there's open space and the air is cleaner and the crime is less, and all the things that lend themselves to a smoother transition into a steady life where wealth building is possible. And then as far as life in general goes, if you can live in one place and not move around, that's very helpful. Although for many people, being open to moving and increasing your career that way is very helpful as well. But the stability of leaving yourself in one place in your family is very conducive to wealth building. So to recap, those are the social aspects and social habits of wealth building. A long and happy, stable marriage where both people agree on wealth building, involving your children in that, the aspects of health, which have come down to avoiding the toxins and keeping your family healthy and enjoying that together as a family. And then also the principles of work, the social contracts of work, and the stress that it can create, and to let your goals and aspects of your desires known in your workplace and in your business, to let your employees know that you want your business to succeed and that they can be a part of it. And keep all these things in mind, and then employ them in your life as a foundation for the next things we're going to talk about in part 2, which are the technical aspects of wealth building.